Right then, so getting a lot of questions. What have you got to do coming the 1st of January 2021? So, model flying or hobby flying with a drone, doesn't matter, basically the same applies. Okay? You're going to fly in the A3 open category, okay? And this is for aircraft between 250 grams to 25 kilos. Okay? So, the basics are that you can go out, stand in a field in the middle of nowhere, and you can fly like you do today. Okay? The important bits, it says put the roof back on a house. The important bit is you do not fly in a built up area. Okay? You must be 150 metres away. 150 metres. Okay? You can fly your drone over here, right? As long as you can see it. Visual line of sight. Okay? You must then keep 50 metres from uninvolved people. And those uninvolved people can be in cars, they can be in houses, they can be in boats. Okay, so the A3 open category, to fly in it. Okay, however, you must have your operator ID, okay, which will cost you £9 from the CA. I'm not sure why they brought in a charge for us all to fly. The CAA can only make a 5% profit. Are they trying to find out how many air users there really are? I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why we suddenly got a charge. Came in last year, we've had it for a year now, and there are roughly 160,000. But that number's going up all the time. So you must have your operator ID, okay, and then you must use your drone Demares, which is like to get your flyer ID. Flyer ID. And your flyer ID in the Demares is basically to show that you do like a test. It's 40 questions. You'll do it, you'll pass it. It's not hard, don't be scared of it. Count as many goes as you want, it's free. And basically that's to show that you've understood the rules and regulations. Okay? So when someone comes on and says you shouldn't be doing that, and you go, yes I can, you need to know that you were flying to what you've agreed, because the Demares test is proof of your pilot competency on knowing the regulations. As such, to fly in the A3 open category. That is the bare minimum. You do not have to do anything else now. You can go fly, you can do commercial work. You know, if you're Bruce and you want to take that nice landscape shot with your drone over here, okay, and sell that shot, you can do that. Commercial is now gone, okay? So, that's it, isn't it? That's nice and easy. You just want to go out and fly in the countryside. A3 open category. Your aircraft will weigh between 250 and 25 kilos. You pay your £9 operator ID. I'll put the video thingy just there somewhere. You see a video on that. You'll do your Demares flyer ID, so you've got proof of passing that. You'll keep out of cities and towns and built up areas, 150 metres. You'll stay 50 metres away from people like Karen. Okay? That's it. That's all you've got to do. That's all you've got to do. That's simple, isn't it? Yeah. And then we've got more. Because of course, when organisations and governments get involved in stuff like EASA and others, they can't be happy with something simple. They have to then go, well, the A3 open category, what we're going to do is we're going to give it a subcategory called it A2. We're going to give it a subcategory. Yay! So, under the A2 category though, you have to do a certificate of competence, a C of C. Who came up with this name? It's amazing. So, A2 C of C, right, in the UK, okay, we'll have a UK marked aircraft. You'll notice I'm not saying C marking because C markings are a European thing. Well, no, they're an EU thing. We're still European, but we're not in Europe project. We're not in the European project anymore. So, anyway, A2CFC, with a UK marked aircraft, you can fly up to 4 kilos, okay, and you can fly that in a built-up area, okay. That's nice and simple, isn't it? Oh, and it has to be UK marked, of course. Don't forget, it's got to be a UK marked aircraft. Okay. But wait, there aren't any. Oh, there aren't any. No. Well, what we'll do then is they'll give us a transitional weight. So between 500 grams, right, and 2 kilos. They'll give us transitional weights. Okay, this is non-EU, but what this does, this means you have to keep 50 metres from uninvolved people. Doesn't matter if they're in a house, a car, a boat or anything else. If they're uninvolved and your aircraft weighs between 500 and 2 kilos and you have done the A2CFC, you must have done the course, you can fly up to 50 metres from people like Karen. However, I did see on Facebook the other day, someone said it's a 25 metre wide, a 50 metre wide cylinder, meaning that this distance would be 25 metres. That's wrong. Okay, it is 50 metres in all directions. So it's a big cylinder. If you look down from above, so if this is where your drone is, right? This circle, this cylinder as you fly, okay, it's 50 metres, right, at all points. Okay, so it must be 50 all the way. Okay, as you fly, you have to keep that 50 metre separation. Someone said 25 metres across, or 50 metres across. It's not. It's 100 metres wide, the cylinder, 100 metres wide, plus your drone in the middle. Oh, right. It's nice and simple so far, isn't it? Oh wait, oh sorry, there's another subcategory. Yeah, so the A2CFC, and then we get another subcategory, because what's better than adding another subcategory? Because that's what we need to do. So, well, we don't need to, but obviously someone had to, because someone thought somewhere it was a good idea. So we've got the A1. Now the A1 is for 250 to 500 grams, right? Again, it has to be UK, well, it's to 900 grams actually, if it's UK marked. So if it's UK marked, I believe it's 900 grams. However, we don't have them, so we get the transitional weight, which is 250 to 500 grams. And if Bruce is flying his drone, okay, Bruce is now flying his little drone, it weighs 430 grams. He can now fly it just there. As long as he does not fly directly over Karen, okay, he's not breaking the law. That's it. There's just the only limitation is you can't overfly uninvolved people. You could take off from your back garden, so this is your middle house here. You could take off from here, fly in your back garden, okay. However, you couldn't overfly your neighbour's house or their garden if they're in it, if they say I'm not involved in the flight, okay. However, because you don't know where they are in the house, but their garden, as long as you don't deliberately overfly them in their own garden, technically you could overfly their garden. It'd be very hard to prove, I think. Oh, I just killed out the A1. Right, and then we also get the A0. Okay, and the A0 is for anything under 250 grams. Okay, and the A0 means you can overfly people, you can overfly houses. All you've got to do is get an operator ID, do the DOMRs, get the flyer ID. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do the A2CFC. Okay. The A2CFC will allow you to fly inside a city area, okay, with an aircraft that weighs less than 500 grams. There's no flight test in the A2CFC, by the way. There's no, it's a certificate of competency, but they don't test your piloting skills at all. So that was good, wasn't it? So there's no proof of piloting skills at all. Certificate of competency means, I don't know. So, it's all complicated, okay? But if you want to fly in a built-up area, you're going to have to do A2CFC, okay? And that's it in a nutshell. You don't need it if you're not flying in a built-up area. You do not need to do an A2CFC, no matter what anyone says, at all, okay? However, could there be something else out there that might benefit you? Ooh. Well, could there be something else? What about Article 16? Article 16. Article 16, what's that? Well, Article 16, if you're a BMFA member or FPV UK member, they were talking to the CAA, thankfully. We got some kind of common sense somewhere. Basically, it allows model flyers, FPV flyers, to basically you can fly as you do today. You can keep going as you are today. The main changes are you can fly up to 25 kilos, okay? And there's a couple of other bits, so let's go through it. Any aircraft over 25 kilos will be subject to a separate authorisation to be held by the Large Model Association, okay? Which basically replaces their over 20 kilo scheme, okay? So let's have a quick look. Right, so 7 kilos, we remember the 7 kilo model flying stuff, it's now gone up to 7.5 kilos, and 20 kilos has gone up to 25. So they give us an extra half kilo. Thanks. You must operate your drone within line of sight. This has always been the way. So if Bruce is flying here, right, and he's flying right over here, he must be able to see it, okay? Anyone that's going, well, I know my drone is in this airspace. It's not about that. It's not about knowing the drone is in that airspace. You visually have to be able to see the damn thing, okay? Because when that helicopter comes across, right, when Mr. Helicopter comes flying across in a rush, you can see him, you know where you are, you can take the avoiding action and get out of the way, okay? Visual line of sight, it's important for a reason, okay? I know FPVs like being sat in a plane, you know, and of course, you know, you can have cameras that can tilt and look around, but that's not enough. You know, they're saying that you've got to be able to see the aircraft or have a competent spotter if you're flying FPV. So, remote operators, minimum age of 18, and that doesn't change. So no 16-year-old can actually own a model aircraft. Yay! I've taught kids of 8 to fly. There's no minimum age for anyone operating under the direct supervision of another remote pilot. That's good. Provided both required evidence of competency. That'd be Morrison. Right, so what else have we got? Other restraint, operator registration, basically if it's got a camera, it's got to be registered, if it can record. We've been expecting that for a long time. They've got some stuff on free flight. I don't do free flight, but they've got some bits on that you should read if you're a free flight. FPV, so if you're flying FPV, okay, What's interesting is, so first person view, which is basically what a lot of drone flyers fly. So you must have a competent spotter with you, unless you're doing drone racing. If you're drone racing, you don't have to have an observer. Okay, the event, there's everyone there. But however, if you are flying an FPV, you should have a competent observer with you. You cannot fly your aircraft above 400 feet. Okay. Sorry, I'll take that back. Let me just read that again. You can fly a fixed wing FPV aircraft up to 1,000 feet, as long as it weighs less than 3.5 kilos. Okay, so less than 3.5 kilos, model plane with FPV and a spotter up to 1,000 feet. However, multi-rotors are stuck at 400 feet. Basically, if it's got more than one rotor that creates lift, you can't fly to 1,000 feet. Interesting. So my model helicopter I could take to 1,000 feet. If I did model Chinook, because it's got 2 rotors, I couldn't take it to 1,000 feet because it's got 2 rotors. It wouldn't be allowed. Oh, there we go. Flying in parks is permitted. Now, this is interesting. So, Bruce is flying in a park. Okay? And you're allowed to do this. Certain parks, certain commons do allow it. Check bylaws. But Bruce is flying his model plane, right? Or his FPV drone, or whatever, right? You're flying in a park, okay? You have to keep the uninvolved people, 30-metre bubble around them. Okay, so they have a bubble around them of 30 metres. Okay, now you want to come on land, okay, you're allowed to do that, but no closer than 15 metres from them. That is better than people with PFCOs. But you cannot use, under Article 16, you cannot use this commercially in any way, shape or form. Article 16 does say no commercial flying. Okay, but in a park, common sense has prevailed. 15 metres, 30 metres from uninvolved people, and you can fly. Okay, for takeoff and landing 15 metres. And sailplanes, you're allowed to do ridge soaring. So, ridge soaring, here's a hill. Okay, Bruce has climbed up the hill. Now typically, if you're flying a drone, so if you're flying a multi-rotor, right, you have to keep within 400 feet of the surface at all times. Okay. However, with a sailplane, okay, you could be right over here. It could be 600 feet beneath you. You're allowed to do that. You can visually see it. Okay, you can do that. That is permitted. Okay, that's ridge flying, ridge soaring. Okay, so the ridge guys should be happy. Okay, no effect on them under the current rules. You know, no change. That's brilliant. We like that. We like that. Now, if you are going to fly in a park or in a built-up area, okay, and you're flying under the BMFA Article 16, you will have to do a risk assessment. Okay, that is one of the things. If you're flying in a park, okay, you have to do a risk assessment. Okay, the BMFA will help you do this. They are saying already they will help with that. Okay, so that's brilliant. So you need to do a risk assessment for that. Okay. They're saying that operators, so if you come down from the Model Flying Club and you want to fly my model plane, I've got to make sure that you're competent, you've done your DMARES flyer ID, and you're suitably competent to fly my aircraft. So you're not going to fly it. Interestingly, members with an existing BMFA achievement obtained prior to 31st of the 12th 2020, including BMFA registration competency certificate, will be considered to have acceptable evidence of competency. That is just under Article 16, it's not for anything else, don't get your hopes up. They talk about remote pilot responsibilities. Basically, you don't fly if you've been drinking or doing drugs. It's before flying, you just got to make sure that you're happy that flight can take place safely. Okay, built-up areas, risk assessment time, as I've said. How high can you fly? If you're in a flight restriction zone, you're limited. You must get permission to fly in a flight restriction zone. The clubs that got problems with flight restriction zones when they came in, okay, and airfield said you can't fly because we've now got control of our own airspace. Remember, there was a new cap that came out. Look at that, take it to them and go and say, you've got to let us fly high because the CA say so. Basically, you can fly in a flight restriction zone if you have permission, but you must have. What's interesting, they say written permission from an aerodrome. I've never known an aerodrome yet to give written permission. They're all very much on the phone, yeah, verbal, done. Model aircraft must weigh less than 7.5 kilos, but it does mean you go above 400 feet above the surface. There's a section on free flight, so if you're a free flight player, read Article 16. But basically, Article 16 will allow you to continue as you are now. If you're a model flyer, if you're a drone flyer, you might get some benefits by joining either the BMFA, okay, British Model Flying Association, right, or FPV UK. The only restriction on Article 16, okay, is no commercial work. Okay, no commercial work. It's quite clear in Article 16, it's not for commercial. So if you're a hobby flyer and you enjoy flying your drones and you want the 15 metre takeoff, right, and 13 metre in flight, right, in the countryside, BMFA or FPV UK, become a member of one of these two. FPV UK is about $19.99, BMFA is about £39. The difference is in insurance liability. BMFA is slightly better, FPV UK is not quite as much. But basically you get insurance for third party, doesn't cover your aircraft. As a model flyer, I find it absurd that a drone that's flying on GPS is insured against a crash. If you can twiddle the sticks, you can fly. Right, so the A2C of C, is it worth doing? So, you can just go and fly in the A3 open category, okay? And do your operator ID, pay £9, Damaris flyer ID. You can go, you can take that scenic shot, you can sell it, you can stick 150 metres away from a congested built-up area, you stay 50 metres from uninvolved people, be them in cars, planes, trains or anything. Well, planes you keep a bit further. And you can do your photography and everything, okay? Use NATS, drone assist to check your airspace, all good. Okay, next, you have the choice. If you want to fly in a built-up area, if you want to fly over here, right, in here, you want to look at your A2C of C, right? My only advice is with the A2C of C, I wouldn't do it unless I had an aircraft less than 500 grams. 500 grams wins. Anyone telling you anything else is, yeah, at the minute, and to get UK marked aircraft, only 500 grams wins in a built-up area for A2C of C flyers. That's simple, that's how it is. In the countryside, A2C of C will give you 50 metres, and of course, from uninvolved people. So it might be an advantage in the countryside, and remember it's a 100 metre wide cylinder. However, if you're just flying for fun, an FPV, you might want to join the BMFA or FPV UK, Article 16, okay? And you can just fly and you can have fun. But no commercial work, okay? It's $19.99 for the FPV UK and BMFA is £39. Hopefully somewhere that's not too confusing. If it is, just go back, watch bit by bit. A3 open category, operator ID, £9, Damaris, flyer ID, go fly, enjoy yourself, 150 metres from built up area, 50 metres from uninvolved people, be it in buildings, cars, houses, etc. If you want to fly in a congested area with your drone, you may want to do the A2 CFC, but it only wins if your aircraft is under 500 grams. If it's over that and it's up to 2 kilos, remember, it's a 100 metre wide cylinder with your drone in the middle. Okay? However, it may work for you out in the countryside. Okay? Next, you've got Article 16. You can fly in parks and everything, but you've got to have to do a risk assessment. The BMFA will help you with that, and I'm sure FPV UK will do the same. Okay? No commercial work though under Article 16. And you can get down to 30 metres and 15 metres for takeoff and landing. Okay? And I'm sure that's for model aircraft and FPV. I'm going to say it should include drones, but please double check. There is a lot in Article 16. It is quite possible that I've missed something, and my disclaimer is the rules are meant to be clear and simple, but this is what happens when governments and organisations get involved with regulation. You end up with so many rules. It's a nice little minefield, but Article 16 is worth a read. The link will be below for the BMFA Article 16 and FPV UK, so you can check them all out. Right, there you go, everyone. And there goes my pen. Catch you later. Safe flying, everyone. Take care.